Hello and welcome. In this video we'll take a tour around Mastercam's graphical user interface. The blue graphics window is where Mastercam part files are displayed. This is the menu that appears when I right mouse click in the graphics window. For example, I could click on Repaint, or as a shortcut I could use the Function key on my keyboard, F3. Just above the blue graphics screen is the ribbon bar. Now ribbon bars activate when we move into many Mastercam functions. Let's move to the top of the screen and review the menu bar and check out some of their contents. I'm going to move to the far left and click on File. Now the icons on the left match the icons in the toolbars. I'm going to slide on down and pick Open. This is where we go to open up Mastercam part files. But down at the very bottom of this dialog box, Files of Type, I'm going to open up this drop down, and these are the different file types that can be read by Mastercam X, version 9, version 8 and version 7 Mastercam files, IGES, AutoCAD, Pro-E files and a host of other different file types. I'm going to move to the right and hit on the X for cancel, and then just hit it one more time to exit open. And next door to File is Edit, and at the very top of the list is Undo, Redo, and by default Mastercam can save up to 2 billion undo, redo events. I think that should be enough. Down below is Cut, Copy, Paste, Trim Break, etc. Let's slide on next door into View. Now View contains a selection of zoom functions, and at the top a toggle switch to turn on and off the Operations Manager, or you can use the shortcut on your keyboard, Alt-O. I'm going to click on it, and as you can see the Operation Manager has disappeared. I'm going to click Alt-O on my keyboard to turn it back again. If you need to change the width of this window, just left mouse click on this right pane and drag it to the right. I'm going to click on it again and drag it back. So this is the Toolpath Manager. Let's click over to the Solids Manager, and I'm going to click back to Toolpaths Manager. Next door to View is Analyze. What I'd like to do is find the distance between the centers of two of the holes on this part. I'm going to move on down and pick Analyze Distance. Now let's check out this first prompt. Select a point or curve. What I'd like to do is analyze the distance between the center of this circle and the center of this circle over on the right hand side. So for this first prompt, select a point or curve. What I'm going to do is move up to the Auto Cursor ribbon bar. That's what I'm hovering over right now. Now I'm going to open up this drop down, and I'm going to move on down and select Arc Center. Now as you can see the prompt has changed. Select an arc. So what I'm going to do is move over to the left and select this arc, and it's snapped to the center of this arc. Now for the next prompt, select a second point. I'm going to move on over, and as I get close to the center of this arc, you can see there's a visual cue. That's the circle with a cross in the center. That means I'm going to snap to the center of this arc. So I'm going to click. Now over on the left in this dialog box is the two-dimensional length between the centers of these holes, 3.5. Let's move up now to the top left hand corner, and this X, Y, Z value represents the center point for the first arc that I picked, and on the right hand side this X, Y, Z value represents the center point of the last circle that I picked. I've finished with this dialog box. I'm going to move down the bottom and pick on OK. Now next along from Analyze is Create. And these are the geometry creation tools. let's move down into line, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options here for creating lines. So I'm going to click on the top one, create line endpoint. Now this is the line ribbon bar that I'm moving along right now. Now before we start to create the line, what I'd like to do is check out the prompt. Now what I can do is left mouse button, click, hold it down, and move the prompt around. If I right mouse click, I can change the text size. I'm going to right mouse click again and take it back to large. What I'd like to do is draw a line from the center of this circle to the center of this circle on the right. So specify the first endpoint. What I'm going to do is move up to the Auto Cursor ribbon bar, and I'm going to click on this icon for arc center. As you can see, the prompt has changed. Select an arc. I'm going to move on over and select this arc on the left, and it's snapped to the center. I'm going to move on over, and as I get closer to the center of this arc on the right, I've got a visual cue there, that circle with the cross in the middle. That means I'm going to snap to the center. I'm going to click, and there's our line. Let's just move on up to the line ribbon bar. Now this button, the apply button, if I wanted to continue creating lines, I could hit the apply button. I'm done here, so I'm going to slide off to the right and click on the OK button, and there's our line. Next to create is solids, and these are all the tools we can use to create solid model geometry. Next door to solids is XForm, and listed here are the tools we can use to transform geometry. Translate, mirror, rotate, scale, to name but a few. Next door, machine type. Now we can set up specific parameters for a particular machine tool, be it a vertical mill or horizontal machine. Let's slide over to the right into toolpaths, and these are all the tools we can use for creating toolpaths: contour, drill, pocket, etc. Let's slide off to the right, and what I'd like to demonstrate now is how we can turn on and off the screen grid. So what I'm going to do is click on screen grid settings, or the shortcut is Alt G. I'm going to click on it, and over on the left here you can see there's a check mark against visible grid. I'm just going to click on it to deactivate it. I'm done here, so I'm going to move on down below and click on the green arrow for OK, and as you can see, the grid has disappeared. Let's turn it back to life again. I'm going to go up to screen, move on down to screen grid settings, and I'm going to put that check mark back on visible grid. Just above it, active grid. It's deactivated at the moment, but if I do activate it, that will enable us to snap to these grid points. One more thing before I leave here, I'm going to change the size from 1 to 3. I'm done, so I'm going to move on down and pick OK. Next on from screen is settings. At the top we've got configuration. I'm going to click on customize. Now this is where we go to create, delete and customize Mastercam toolbars. I'm going to go down to the very bottom of this dialog box and hit the red X to cancel. Now at the very end we have help, and there is a separate video just dedicated to help. Now down below we have a selection of toolbar icons, and if you cast your eyes over to the right hand side we have the MRU. Now MRU stands for most recently used toolbar, which presently is vertically docked. Now if I hover over this top icon, and you can see customize, that was the last function that we were in, and down below create line endpoint, that was the one prior to customize, and then down below that analyze distance. So this is the MRU, most recently used toolbar. Let's move on up now, and what I'm doing right now is hovering over the Sketcher toolbar. Now let's find out how we can turn on and off these different toolbars. I'm going to right mouse click over the toolbars anywhere. Now if we move on down to this list, you can see Sketcher has a check mark against it. It's turned on. I'm just going to click on it and it's disappeared. Let's bring it back to life again. So right mouse click anywhere over the toolbars. Let's slide on down to Sketcher. I'm going to click on it and there it is. We're back in business again. Now what I'd like to do now is create a line using line endpoint, but this time I'm going to use the toolbar. So look, let's move up to the Sketcher toolbar and I'm hovering over the create line endpoint icon. If I just move to the right, there's our different options in this drop down for creating lines. I'm going to click on this icon. Now specify the first endpoint. So what I'd like to do is draw a line from the center of this arc, this circle in the lower left corner, over to this circle on the right. Now let's just check out the auto cursor ribbon bar. That's what I'm hovering over right now. We can use the auto cursor ribbon bar to manually enter X, Y and Z coordinates, or snap to points as you move the cursor over geometry. Now for this first prompt, specify the first endpoint, what I'm going to do is move up and select this icon, arc center. Now as you can see, the prompt has changed. Select an arc. I'm going to move on down and pick this circle in the lower left corner, and as you can see, it's snapped to the center of that arc. Now watch what happens as I move over this line. There's a visual cue that showed up, and that denotes I'm going to snap to the midpoint of this line. Now let's move over now, and as we get closer to the center of the circle, there's my visual cue that I'm going to snap to the center of this arc. I'm going to pick it, and there's our line. Now before we leave this line creation, what I'd like to do is move on up to the auto cursor ribbon bar, and I'm going to click on this question mark. And here we are in help, auto cursor ribbon bar help. I'm going to move on down and click on this link, visual cue. I'm just going to scroll down, and here are the Mastercam visual cues. This is the last one we saw, arc center. Prior to that, we checked out midpoint. Here's the visual cue for intersection. So don't forget, help is just a click away. I'm going to move up into the top right hand corner of this window and close it up. Now we've completed our line. What we've got to do now is move up to the ribbon bar and click on OK. What I'd like to look at next is the general selection ribbon bar. That's what I'm hovering over right now. I'm going to undock it. I'm going to click over it on the left hand side and drag it down into the graphics window. So we use this ribbon bar to select entities in the graphics window. Now what I'm going to do is move on to the left and select this all button. Over on the left hand side in this dialog box, what I'm going to do is check mark entities. Moving on down below, I'm going to put a check mark against arcs. And now to finish off, I'm going to move on down and pick the green check mark for OK. Now as you can see, it's selected just the arcs in my part. Now I want to delete these entities, so I'm going to move on up to the toolbar and select delete entities. Now to make them come back, I'm just going to go up and hit undo. Now let's dock this back in its original place, and there we go. Okay, I'm going to select delete, and what I'm going to do is pick this entity down here, and pick this entity. Now maybe that last entity was a mistake. How do I unselect it? Just pick it again. So I only have two selected entities. As you can see, they're in yellow. Now the next step is to move on up and hit end selection. What I'm going to do now is move on up to the toolbar, and I'm going to click on Undelete Entity. Once there's that line back, I'm going to hit it again, and we got both of those lines back now. Let's move into Erase, Delete Entities again. Now select Entities. What I'm going to do is open up this drop down and pick Window and pick on Window. Now I'm going to move over into the left hand corner and pick a point and then drag. Now before I pick this next point, just take careful note of what entities are completely inside this window. I've clicked, and what have we picked? The circle, the arc and the line. They were the only three things that were completely inside the window. We didn't pick this line, or the top line because they weren't completely inside the window. I'm going to pick Done, End Selection, and let's do an undo to get them back again. Let's go into Erase, Delete Entities, and what I'm going to do is open up this drop down, and let's pick Single, and I'm going to pick this arc, and this arc, and maybe that last arc was a mistake. All I do is pick it again, and all I have selected is two entities. I'm done, so let's go up and pick End Selection. I'm going to whip over to the left and hit Undo, and there they are back again. If you cast your eyes over into the bottom right hand corner, you'll see the scale and unit is displayed and shows whatever you're working with, an inch or metric part, and how many units are displayed per inch or millimeter. This gives you an idea of the size of the part you're working with. Now at the very bottom of the screen is the status bar. Now we can access a variety of functions here, modify attributes, colors, levels, groups, etc. Now presently the color is set to green. I'd like to change it to red. So what I'm going to do is click on this green 10. And over on the left on this beautiful color palette, I'm going to go up and select this square red. I'm going to go down the bottom now and pick OK. So from now on, any entities I create will take on the color of red. Now that concludes our tour around Mastercam's interface. Thanks very much for watching.